vegetables and those kind of food is sattvic.
अंकित प्रभु हरे कृष्णा, आप अपना नाम बदलिए।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी,
अनंत गिरिधारी, राइट?
यस प्रभु जी।
या यशस्वी ने
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रवीणा माता जी, दंडवत प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
चंदन, happy to hear you. दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्णा। युगेंद्र प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्णा।
दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
दिव्या हेमांगी देवी, दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्णा। संजय प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्णा।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
We'll wait for a couple of more minutes.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी,
यत्न प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा। We can sing a small Radha Madhav. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे पंचतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपा स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं भवं नङ्गायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
राधा भावनी देवी दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। चंदन है।
चंदन प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
सीता माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Nikha Mataji,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Pranam,
Yeah,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you.
Nikha Mataji, your initiated name is?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You're asking me?
Yes, your initiated
Yeah,
name?
yeah, Prabhuji. Nandini Sundari. Devi Dasi.
Nandeswari. You should write that name so I can recognize you then.
Sure,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
Okay, we'll begin now. So we are on the 7th chapter of Nectar of Devotion. Last week we began the 64 items of devotional service. We have some devotees who joined today. So the first 5 chapters are introduction. Then 6th chapter, basically what is Nectar of Devotion is it has like many chapters. It has over 50 chapters. But for the Bhakti Shastri, we cover only 20 chapters. And these 20 chapters are divided into 2 categories. There is Sadhana Bhakti and there is Raganuga Bhakti. First 16 chapters discuss about, there is 3, okay. First 20 chapters are divided into 3 sections, which is Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. First 16 chapter describes Sadhana Bhakti, then 2 chapters describes Bhava Bhakti, and last 2 chapters describe Prema Bhakti. And this is our, this 20 chapters we are going to go through. Among the Sadhana Bhakti, this is the major part of Nectar of Devotion that we will cover. Because this is the longest phase, sadhana. Among sadhana bhakti, there is 2 subdivision. There is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and there is Raganuga sadhana bhakti, which is practicing Krishna consciousness as instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the scriptures. This is our spiritual master. This is Vidhi Marg. Vidhi Marg means doing as we hear from authorized sources, practicing it. And then there is spontaneous path, which is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Among Vidhi Sadhana Bhakti, there are 64 items. And this is something that is most relevant to us. This is taken from the teachings that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami. About 64 items, and then Lord Chaitanya gave this instruction to Rupa Goswami that you write books. So Rupa Goswami wrote this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Nectar of Devotion, where in the 6th chapter, first what we discussed was actually the summary of first 5 chapters in detail, many subject matter, and what is the qualification of bhakti we discussed. What is the qualification for Shuddha Bhakti we discussed. These were the initial 5 chapters, and then 6 chapters is the beginning of how to render devotional service. And we discussed all the 64 items, just the name and a couple of lines about them. And then last week we began describing each of the 64 in detail. So among the 64, we covered 3, and we are beginning with the 4th one today. The first was accepting the shelter of a spiritual master. The second was accepting initiation from a spiritual master. And the third is serving him, serving the spiritual master. And receiving instruction from him. So shelter and then initiation, and now receiving shelter, taking guidance and serving with confidence our spiritual master. So these were first 3. We discussed some quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam about how one should the main the main role of a spiritual master in our life is Vani, instruction. Because by following the instruction of Shri Guru, one clears one path back to Godhead. And then we saw how Srimad Bhagavatam describes one should worship Shri Guru as one's Ishtadev. And by worshipping Shri Guru, we worship all the Devi and Devatas, because all 33 million demigods, they reside in the body of Guru. And we discussed how in ISKCON also we worship Shri Guru by through Mangal Arati, the first prayers in the morning, by Guru Puja, worship to Prabhupada. So in that way, we worship Shri Guru as our Ishtadev. And now we'll begin from there, following in the footsteps of saintly persons. In the Skanda Purana, it is said that the best way is the path that has been followed without effort by the previous sages, and following which they attained the Lord himself. That is a path that is free from all kinds of ills of life and is the source of real success. So it is described, Skanda Puran describes that the best way to attain perfection or to go back to Krishna, to attain like self-realization, the best way is follow the devotees who have attained perfection, and just follow them. And since they have attained perfection, they have gone through a path and they have attained perfection. If we follow them, their destination will be ours also. This is also described as Mahajanayana Katha Sapanta, is following the footsteps of Mahajans. And the best, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the best contribution that these great sages have given to the society is through their writings or through their lectures. Writings they write, and those becomes kind of pathway for us to follow their footsteps. Okay, if someone wants to pose himself as a great devotee without following the authorities of the revealed scriptures, then his activities will never help him to make progress in devotional service. Instead, he will simply create disturbance for the sincere students of devotional service. It is said that if somebody is not following great souls, but themselves want to become kind of a propagator of devotional service, or themselves want to become the authorities or pose themselves as a great devotee, then it will not help them make any progress, and their teachings will simply create disturbance for those who are actually sincere. In other words, for one to grow, first one has to hear. Like Prabhupada would say, to become a good guru is a good disciple. But whoever follows perfectly becomes a perfect leader also. I have personally seen some people who have their own conceptions, or they read, but they don't read under guidance. They just read and they develop some understanding which they feel is correct, and they become very confident. They may become a little proud also that they know everything. They know how things are. And they even try to instruct those who are practicing very seriously for many, many years. They even try to instruct them, saying that, no, this is how it should be, this is how it is said. So the real knowledge is received actually through a disciplic succession. Real knowledge is not revealed just by reading scriptures, because when we read, we may have our own interpretations. And if we form our conception based on our own interpretation, and if we become very kind of adamant about our own interpretation, then it becomes very difficult. So best is we should always be in a mood of a student, and we should always be in a mood to learn. And even if, and we should not have that feeling of, I know what it is, I know how it is. Rather, one should maintain a mood of humble disposition. And if there is any doubts or any misunderstandings, like this is my understanding of this particular verse of the scripture, and some senior devotee says this is what it actually means, and if we find it difficult to understand, then we can make a humble inquiry. Prabhu, this is what my understanding was. Please rectify me, please correct me. So this is like if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, the conversation between first canto, first chapter, the conversation between Sutta Goswami and Sonak Rishi, basically the sages Sutta Goswami. So the sages tell Sutta Goswami that you are an authorized speaker because you have heard it from your spiritual master, and you were submissive to your spiritual master, and you rendered service to him. And then whatever knowledge you received, you applied it, you spoke it, and now since you have done this, you are coming from a disciplic succession. Now we request you to please speak the same Srimad Bhagavatam to us. There it is described the qualification of a speaker should be that he should have heard from his spiritual master, he should have applied the teachings, realized them, and then that becomes one's qualification to speak also. So here, once again, I will read. If someone wants to pose himself as a great devotee without following the authorities of revealed scriptures, they don't follow the authority, but they themselves wants to become great devotees, then their activities will never help him make progress in devotional life. Instead, he will simply create disturbance for the sincere student of devotional service. I mean, I have seen my own life. People make their own conceptions about the process of Krishna consciousness, what is important, what is not important. And then any sincere people come and they post their understanding onto others. And that becomes a disturbance to the sincere people who are just coming in. So that's why it's very important that one should first hear, understand, apply, and then gradually grow. Okay, this is from Brahma Yamala Puran. Being prepared to give up everything material. In the Padma Puran, it is stated, thou hast sacrificed everything, all objects of pleasure, time after time, for the sake of Lord Shri Krishna. Therefore, all the steady wealth of Vaikuntha, Lakshmi, who is unsteady in this earth, but permanent and progressive in the realm of the Lord, awaits thee or awaits you. You are eligible to be received by Lakshmi herself in Vaikuntha. This is a Padma Puran where there is a verse where it is referred to a particular devotee that because you have sacrificed not once but time after time all objects of pleasure for the sake of Lord Shri Krishna, and therefore you have become qualified to receive the complete mercy of the Lord and Lakshmi Devi. In other words, being prepared to give up everything material. Now, naturally, one of the 64 items is whatever we like the most, we offer it to Krishna. Or I mean, not that we just give up things, but whatever is conducive for my Krishna consciousness, I will accept. And if a particular situation, circumstances, object, or people, if something is unconducive for my growth in Krishna consciousness, then I should be willing to give up those things for the sake of progressing in my Krishna consciousness. When we sacrifice things that are dear to us, or being prepared to give up everything material, if that sacrifice helps us in progressing our Krishna consciousness, then Krishna notices it. Like recently, what happened is, like in our small Krishna house project in Grand Rapids, one person came. He's a student, and then he came because he was staying with some other roommates. He had some dispute with his roommates, and he was visiting Krishna house earlier. He was He wanted to come to Krishna house. So he thought, well, it's not working out here. He came to Krishna. And he was in a sad mood because he had some dispute with his old roommates. He stayed few days and he would do some service at the center. Um, and then he asked me that, Prabhu, I am missing my friendship, my old friends. I feel like I should go there. And I told him that, Prabhu, you can go there. And then he was asking Prabhu why this happened. And I told him it doesn't matter why this happened, but see it as for somehow or other, Krishna has put you in a situation that you are placed under the shelter of Krishna and you are serving Krishna and you are practicing devotional service. You are coming in the morning. But then his friends called him and they said, well, come, let's go. And it's okay, no worries. We'll settle back and leave Krishna house and come here. And then he left actually to be with his friends. So I was thinking, it's very hard to, I mean, he asked me, Prabhuji, can I go? I said, well, my advice will be do whatever is favorable for your Krishna consciousness. Maybe after um, um, long opportunities, have you actually finally got this opportunity to serve Lord Krishna directly? But then some things can pull us back. We may want to go forward to Krishna, maybe old relationships, maybe something can pull us back. But if we are willing to, like, there is one devotee who is actually very sincere. And I was asking him, so how are things with you here? So he said, I'm missing my old friends. I said, yeah, for the sake of practicing Krishna consciousness, one has to go through this phase and make new friends who are devotional and make more favorable and conducive association. So at some point of time, we see, okay, this is favorable and this is not favorable, or something is pulling me back to my old life, and something is pushing me towards Krishna consciousness. So when we actually willingly are prepared to give up anything not conducive for my Krishna consciousness, we all have many bad habits also. I mean, we all may have in the past, willing to give those up, although we may like to do some things, willingly giving them up. Like I know one person, he came, I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of Westerners, so they have many habits. So he came and he said, he's chanting 8 rounds and he said, I'm taking nicotine every day, like, those smoking. I said, how many smokes do you do a day? He said, around 100 smokes a day. I said, Prabhu, that is too much. Then I told him, gradually reduce. So there are many things that are not conducive. For different people, there are different things, but that kind of pull us back, pull us down. If we are willing to give up anything non-conducive and accept things which are favorable to Krishna consciousness, it's a pain. But then it will, if it is in favor of pleasing Krishna, then Krishna remembers that. And everyone has to go through this phase. Like another example, I mean, I deal with these situations a lot in the recent past. So I went to Florida. I was staying with some devotees in the ashram. There was some service for which I had to go. And then there was one brahmachari. I was staying with him. He's relatively new in Krishna consciousness. So I spent 3 days and we had various services there. Then I requested him, Prabhu, can you drop me back to the airport? So he was driving me back. On the way back, he told me, can I share something with you? I said, yes. And then he said, I really like one girl in the ashram. There is boys ashram, there is women ashram, there is men's ashram. What should I do? I really want Krishna, but then I don't know how do I deal with the situation. She likes me and I like her, and what do I do? I said, Prabhu, did you ask your guru? And he said, yes, I spoke to my Gurudev. I said, what did he say? He said, let's wait. This is not the time. You are too young. Even if you want to enter a relationship, this is not the time. And this is not the way. So let's wait. I said, well, follow the instructions of Guru then. This is my inspiration also, that you have to come out of it. And it will be hard because the nature of this world is there is, I mean, we discussed last week that there is no pleasure in this world. Nature of this world is wherever you derive pleasure, the suffering will come. And because you have derived some pleasure in some association, to come out of this association, to forget this particular relationship which you found by your contemplation, will be painful, and you will go through the same amount of suffering corresponding to the pleasure you attained in that relationship. But if you don't do it, then you will become entangled. But if you can somehow come out of it and focus more on Krishna, when the time is right, Guru and Krishna will arrange in a proper way, and then do it in a proper way. So there will be many, especially in our beginning stages of Krishna consciousness.
छोटा ट्रीट नहीं जैसा वाला खोजिए
Especially in the beginning stages of our Krishna consciousness, many things pull us back. And like there is one story I was sharing the other day. It is given by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And when
देखा जान
Deva Himangi,
देखा जान
can you mute? Okay, thank you, Mata. So I was sharing this one story of which was one devotee asked one question to Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Guru. His name was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this devotee asked him that, Guru Maharaj, we see two devotees, they started their journey in Krishna consciousness at the same time. And now 10 years have passed. One of them have made a lot of progress, and one of them is still very weak in one's Krishna consciousness. Why is it? Although they both started at the same time, they both are practicing in a similar way, attending temple programs, serving in the temple. Why is it one made so much progress and one could not? Then Saraswati Thakur, he told a story, but in short, he says, one of them was bound by material attachments, and he was not able to overcome his material attachments, because material attachments or material things, they deviate us from Krishna consciousness, or bad habits, something of those sort, they deviate us from Krishna consciousness. And if we cultivate those bad habits along with practicing Krishna consciousness, then the progress becomes slow. The chanting becomes weak. The mind becomes weak. The determination becomes weak. And it takes long time to kind of just overcome those bad habits. But some of them can kind of give up those things not conducive for one's Krishna consciousness, and take to one's full heart the practice of Krishna consciousness. Then he will make very rapid progress. Like Srila Prabhupada would say, how quickly we make advancement depends upon the attitude of the follower. And one lecture I was hearing by Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj. He recently got sannyas initiation from Chandramauli Maharaj in Europe, London. I was hearing one of his lecture, and he was mentioning basically same point. If we want to go beyond mediocrity means, one is like okay devotee, and one is a good devotee. So mediocre means in the middle, okay devotee. So if one wants to go beyond mediocrity, then he said, no secretive bad habits will help us to go beyond mediocrity, means sincere. Krishna also says, as you approach, I reciprocate accordingly. So how sincerely we approach Krishna, that much quickly and that much revelation Lord Krishna will give to us. So being prepared to give up everything material, unconducive, and accepting everything that is conducive is the sixth item. Then there is residing in a sacred place. In the Skanda Puran, it is also said that for a person who has lived in Dwarka for 6 months, for 1 month, or even for 1 fortnight, there is awaiting elevation to the Vaikuntha Lokas and all the profits of Sarupya Mukti. Sarupya Mukti, this is one of the verses that shows the importance of residing in a holy place or visiting a holy place. It's very purifying. And it is said that if you sleep in a holy place, it's like paying dandavats, like obeisances throughout the night. That's the advantage of just sleeping in a holy place. And Srila Prabhupada would say that all my temples are Vrindavan, because Krishna is there, Radharani is there, Mahaprabhu is there, Tulsi Devi is there. So all my temples are Vrindavan. So for us, visiting holy places or residing in a sacred holy places, like visiting temple, serving in a temple, it's very purifying. And also it is described when we visit the holy places, we actually leave our bad karma or sins over there. And that's why, and when we come back, we are purified. That's why it's very important to visit holy places or the temples of Lord Krishna, because we come out purified. Okay. Brahma Puran states the demigods see the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri as being four-armed. This from Brahma Puran, where when demigods see those who are residing in Jagannath Puri, they see everybody as four arms. They see it like that, although we may not see it like that, but just shows the importance of how demigods see the holy places. Srimad Bhagavatam states, wherever the waters of the Ganges are flowing, all will be sanctified, both externally and internally. So Bhagavatam says, wherever Ganga flows, we have seen anybody who takes bath in Ganga becomes purified. Anybody who lives near the Ganga, anybody who touches the air that has touched Mother Ganga is purified, is sanctified. And that's why we see generally the spiritual consciousness of those who live near holy places is much more advanced than those who live far away. The further we go from holy rivers, the more sinful the tendencies are within the people. Okay. Then accepting only what is necessary. It is said in Narada Pancharatra that one who is a true economist or one who understands what are one's real needs should accept in one's daily conduct only such things which are reasonably necessary. For one falls down from that spiritual life if one should accept either more or less than the actual needs of one's maintenance. It is better if one fixes up a regulative principle according to his own ability. And okay, we will come to this after this. So first is from Narada Pancharatra, which says one should understand what one's real needs are and should accept in one's daily life only those things that are reasonably necessary. But if one accepts more than what one's needs are, then it becomes destructive to one's spiritual life. A lot can be said. Basically, accepting only what is necessary is simple life. Simple life. This is very important because simple life implies goodness, and mode of passion is accumulation or greed. Greed is mode of passion, and simplicity is mode of goodness. Yeah, it's a big topic in itself. Greed means I need more. I'm not happy with what I have, and if I get a little bit more, then I will be happy with that. And goodness means I'm satisfied and this is all I need, and more than this is not required. One simple principle we follow, especially and those living in temple and those living a simple life. If something is not being used for more than 6 months, we probably don't need it, and those things can be given up, because especially in America, it is seen it is very easy to accumulate. And this is also one of the tendencies of the mind, to be unsatisfied with what one has. That satisfaction is actually fulfilled by deepness in Krishna consciousness, but one tries to fulfill that satisfaction through material things, accumulating unnecessary material things, like one more pair of shoes, one more different color jackets, one more different color clothings, some more of this and some more of that, and this and that, and bigger and better than this and this and this. And one tries to accumulate more and more, which is not really necessary, but one becomes overtaken by the concept of greed. And Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, these are 3 gateways to hell. Lord Krishna says one is anger, lust, anger, and greed. These are the 3 gateways to hell. 17th chapter Bhagavad Gita. 16th chapter, the divine and demonic, lust, anger, and greed. Those act on these propensities, they are overtaken with material desires. And naturally, even if one tries to, like there is a saying, Mother Earth has sufficient for everybody's needs, but Mother Earth does not have sufficient for even one person's greed, because greed can be infinite. And if one is not satisfied, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, if one is not satisfied with what one has, then one will never be satisfied. So accepting only what is necessary. See, if this is necessary, I have, sometime we go to somebody's home and we see um, like there is a shoe rack, there are 2 people and the shoe rack is full from bottom to top. And it's like, it just keeps accumulating. So see what is necessary, use it. And many times, I was sharing this recently, this topic came earlier also. Many times the mind tricks us, oh, I need this. And then we buy it, we use it 2-3 times and we don't use it again. And then again, the mind tricks us, oh, I need this. This will be very helpful for Krishna service. And we buy that and we use it a few times and we don't use it again. And things keep getting accumulated in the corners. So sometime in the name of Krishna conscious needs also, we can fulfill the demand of satisfying the greed, even in a Krishna conscious needs. So one should be very careful, accepting only what is necessary. Okay, once again I will read this. It is said in Narada Pancharatra that one who is a true economist, or one who understands what are one's real needs, should accept in one's daily conduct only such things which are reasonably necessary. For one falls down from that spiritual life if one should accept things more or less than the actual needs for one's maintenance. We should not acquire more than what is required, and we should not acquire less than what is required. Because if we don't have sufficient food to eat, then our consciousness will be disturbed by that lack. And Krishna uses the word yukta. Whatever is needed, do it. Whatever is not needed, there is no need. Okay, it is better if one fixes up a regulatory principle according to his own ability and then follows that vow without fail. That will make him advance in spiritual life. So fix up a regulatory principle means it is better to fix up our sadhana. Like I know most of the devotees here chant 16 rounds. If not, then if you are doing 4 rounds, and if you cannot do more, then fix that up. Don't go below 4. Consistency is the key. Keep doing it for some time. Once you develop faith, then go to next level. It's not only with chanting, it's also with other principles, like the 4 regulatory principles. One should accept a principle that one is ready for, and one should become strong, and then add. Okay. Then next is fasting on Ekadashis. It is stated in Brahma Vaivarta Puran that observance of fast on the Ekadashi day, the 11th day of the lunar fortnight, dark or bright, by men destroys all their sins, offer limitless piety and virtues, and make them remember Lord Govinda. The real reason for observing fasting on Ekadashi is to minimize the demands of the body and to engage our time in the service of the Lord by chanting or performing similar service. The best thing to do on fasting days is to remember the pastimes of Govinda and to hear his holy name constantly. So Ekadashis are also called Vishnu Ratha or Madhav Tithi. Madhav Tithi means they are days of Madhava. Just like if you, in India we say like Tuesday is Hanuman's day or Saturday is Shani day. There are many understandings. Likewise, the day which is most dear to Lord Krishna for Vaishnava is Ekadashi, that is most dear to Lord Krishna. Just like the cows is a dear pet of Lord Krishna. Likewise, Ekadashis are the dearmost days. And these days are most favorable for one's advancement in Krishna consciousness. Many devotees do some extra devotional service. The purpose of these days is to do more hearing and chanting if possible. Like Prabhupada would say, try to remember Lord Govinda more. Also, there is another story where on this particular day, like we are living in an earthly planet, there is hellish planet, and it is described that on this particular day, nobody is punished in the hellish planet. Lord Vishnu gave this benediction earlier, that nobody on this, so this day is a relief. So the question was asked to Lord Vishnu that where will all the sins go? Because when people perform sinful activities, that's what make them go to hellish planets, and there they suffer from their sins, and by suffering they neutralize their sins, and that's how they become free. We can become free from sin by suffering from our sin. This is one way. Another way is devotional service. But those who are not devotees, they naturally go and they kind of the karma acts. The principle is there for everyone. So on this particular day, no suffering is given to them. Then Lord Vishnu was asked where the sin will go, because sin have to be neutralized. Then the Lord said the sin will enter the grains, and whoever eat the grains on this day of Ekadashi will take all the sins of the hellish planets for that particular day that was supposed to be neutralized. They will be neutralized by entering into those who eat grains. And that's why on this day of Ekadashi, the sins enter the grains. So we don't eat grains on this day. And I think we discussed this earlier. And Eka means 1 and Dasha means 10. So Ekadashi is the 11th day, and 11th day after full moon, or 11th day after no moon, or after Purnima, 11th day from Purnima, or 11th day from Amavasya. They are called Ekadashi. That's how we see it. Okay, so 2 things. One is we don't eat grains on this day because the sins enter the grain. And this day is most dear to Lord Krishna. So these are the days you can please the Lord the most. Just like if there is somebody's birthday, then it's auspicious, they're very happy. Likewise, on this day, the Lord is very happy to give his blessings. The real reason for observing fasting on Ekadashi is to minimize the demands of the body and to engage our time in the service of the Lord. Yeah, okay. So that was on Ekadashi. And I think in one of the previous discussion, we discussed what are the things that we can eat on Ekadashi and what things we should not eat on Ekadashi. Then there is offering respect to the banyan trees. In the Skanda Puran, it is directed that a devotee should offer water to the Tulasi plant and Amalaka trees. He should offer respect to the cows and to the Brahmanas, and should serve the Vaishnavas by offering them respectful obeisances and meditating upon them. All of these processes will help the devotee to diminish the reactions to his past sinful activities. So if we water Tulasi, then we saw this earlier, by watering Tulsi, one can neutralize the sin of killing a Brahmana also. So, or a banyan tree. Banyan tree has also a lot of importance in because it is considered as a representative of Lord Vishnu. So banyan tree or tulsi tree, um, serving the devotees. In this way, we become free from past sinful activities. Another thing that helps us becoming free from sinful activities is taking Charnamrit also. That has washed the lotus feet of the Lord. And then the 11th item is giving up the company of non-devotees. In the Katyayana Samhita, it is stated that even if one is forced to live in a cage of iron or in the midst of a blazing fire, he should accept this position rather than living with non-devotees. So one should be willing to give up the company of non-devotees. Now, this Katyayana Samhita says it is better to live in a jail, in a cage of iron, or it is better to live amidst the blazing fire, where probably we won't survive. But it is better to serve. It is better to live there, even if we don't survive, than living with non-devotees. Similarly, in the Vishnu Rahasya, there is a statement to the effect that one should prefer to embrace a snake, a tiger, or an alligator rather than associate with persons who are worshippers of various demigods and who are impelled by material desires. So this is Vishnu Rahasya. Better to embrace an alligator, like we have the picture of alligator. I don't know how many would like to embrace such beings who are ferocious. But Vishnu Rahasya says better to embrace an alligator, better to embrace a tiger, or better to embrace a snake. Actually, they are very envious living entities. I mean, they will bite us, they will kill us. But it says that better to embrace them than to associate with persons who are non-devotees or who have material desire. It is said that by associating with those who have material desire, we will develop material desire. And also for devotees, one should be careful not to associate freely with opposite sex other than one's own spouse. One should not associate freely, or one should not associate freely with the persons of the same sex who are attached to opposite sex. It is said that, in other words, material desire is less harmful than associating with people who have material desires. Because when we associate with people who have material desires, we will be inspired and we will develop those desires. Like one example I've seen is some people, they see their senior managers or people at a bigger post and they become very much inspired that I want to be in this position, and they start striving, they start working very hard to get that position. They make many goals, and then it captures their consciousness, and then they work very hard. Gives lot of anxiety. Like I know one devotee went through lots and lots of anxiety. I want this position. I want it. It's not happening. I gave interview. This time rejected. Waited for 6 more months. Somebody else left applying for this position. Trying hard. 3-4 years, right? Trying for that position, and then finally got the position. Became kind of senior manager, and after 2 months of becoming senior manager, he came to me and he said, "Oh, there is so much work and there is nothing there. I don't know why I was trying so hard for this position for 3-4 years." So this is what happens when we associate with those who have material desires, is we will develop those desires. Like this is very one should be very careful with whom one associate with. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye." He says, I do not want wealth, I do not want the association of opposite sex, I do not want followers or fame or position. Mahaprabhu says, I don't want this, but when we associate with devotees who want those things, then we will also develop those desires and we will deviate from pure Krishna conscious platform. Okay, so this is about one devotee asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a Vaishnava, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reply was, Asat Sanga Tyaga Ehi Vaishnavachar. whoever gives up the asat sanga, tyag, whoever gives up the association of non-devotees. Asat sanga tyag, ehi Vaishnavachar, is a Vaishnav. Why these principles are so important? Because they will help us grow in our devotional life. Now we may have many now, because what happens now when we take up Krishna consciousness, we are not so strong, and we may also have some desires, but then we do things that are favorable and we don't do things that are unfavorable. And Rupa Goswami, based on teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, describes 64 items. Some are favorable, some are not favorable, and those who can follow the 64 will uninterruptedly, they will be able to grow in their Krishna consciousness. So if you find oneself one of those people who want to achieve inner fulfillment, who want to experience Krishna, who want to make progress in one's chanting, if you are one of those people who want that, then applying these 64 elements becomes very important for you, or trying as much as possible. So we discussed about here there is giving up as non-devotees, worshipping Tulasi, visiting holy places like temples and doing some service there, willingness to give up anything material if they are unconducive for our Krishna consciousness, fasting on Ekadashi days, following the regulatory principles, accepting a spiritual master, taking shelter of spiritual master, following the footsteps of previous acharyas like Prabhupada, and the books written by our previous acharyas, whatever they say, following those instructions. So these are, up till now, I think we covered like 13 or 14 items that will help us grow. Okay, there is a list in the Srimad Bhagavatam for worshippers of all demigods, including according to different material desires. But all of these worshippers, although they appear to be very good devotees of the demigods, are still considered to be non-devotees. They cannot be accepted as devotees. In other words, one should associate only with devotees of Lord Krishna. Yeah, and Srimad Bhagavatam describes not even associate with devotees of demigod worshippers. Okay, like it is said that bhakti, the word bhakti is used only for Krishna or Vishnu or Ramchandra or any of the Isha Tattva. Bhakti cannot be used for worshippers of demigods. And bhakta is one who performs bhakti. So bhakta and bhakti are reserved for Lord Krishna and his incarnations and their devotees. And that's what Vaishnava means, and Vaishnava Sangha is what we want. Not accepting unfit disciples, constructing many temples, or reading many books. So this is another one. In the Bhagavatam, Narada addressing King Yudhishthira says, our renunciate must not out of greed make many disciples, or like a sannyasi. Out of greed, because false ego is there, and if one thinks I will have many disciples, and that way, like it's a desire for followers. If they out of greed make many disciples, then one may get deviated from the true principle of bhakti. And one may start encouraging developing material desire. So that's why a renunciate must not out of greed make many disciples, nor should a renunciate study numerous works which have nothing to do with God. Should not study books that are not related to Krishna consciousness. Or even like newspapers, news, or seeing something not related to Krishna consciousness. Like little Krishna is okay. Anything related to Krishna is okay. Like Prabhupada said, you can watch Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are many things, many dramas, Krishna conscious things we can watch. Like there is a release of a movie also. It's called The Swami Who Started It All. On Prabhupada. There are many things that devotees can watch, but not watching anything, not reading anything that have nothing to do with Krishna. Nor should he earn his living by expounding the sacred books. And by expounding sacred books, like one should not make living by sharing bhakti. And lastly, he must not engage himself in any work likely to turn him away from divine values. And don't engage in any activities that are not conducive for our Krishna consciousness. So, not accepting unfit disciples. Another thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I mean, it may not be relevant to most of us here, but still for the sake of completeness. If somebody accepts unfit disciples, then the Guru may fall down, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. So one thing Mahaprabhu says is make only few disciples and only sincere disciples. And that's why in ISKCON also we see usually spiritual masters, they wait for a long time so that the aspiring disciple can prove their worth, can prove their sincerity, can stand the test of time, and then they are willing to accept disciples. But Prabhupada would also say for the sake of preaching and expanding, one can go beyond this principle, not accepting unfit disciples, then constructing many temples that may also be connected to one's false ego. So one should not be so much eager. And reading many books, one can read many books, but best is to read systematically. One should take up Bhagavad Gita, finish Bhagavad Gita, then take up Srimad Bhagavatam, finish Srimad Bhagavatam, take a book at a time, read it fully, and then go to the next one. Don't become distracted by buying many books and reading little from everything, and maybe reading only the interesting topics from various books and leaving the rest. That is not a very nice habit, but one should systematically progress in one's reading. Like I remember when I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam, then many books would attract me. Oh, this topic looks so nice. Oh, this is by this particular Maharaj. Let me try to read this book. Oh, this book is so nice. Let me read this book. But then I tried to stay focused on, okay, my first goal is Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me focus on Srimad Bhagavatam. Now my next goal, now the time comes, I can read this book also. Let's finish this book. Don't leave a book in between. Otherwise you lose confidence. Systematically read. And one by one finish in systematic order the books. Collecting or reading too many books at one time, not very good. Constructing many temples, not very good. Or accepting unfit disciples. Sri Jiva Goswami observes that the injunction as regards not making many disciples is applicable only to those Satans who have adopted the way of living in seclusion, but does not apply to such sadhus who have chosen missionary work for the spread of the message of bhakti. In proof of this, Sri Jiva points out that Sri Narada and other sages had many disciples. So Jiva Goswami says Narad Muni had so many disciples. And many sages like Vishwamitra Muni and other Saptarishis, they have many disciples. So for the missionary part, like as I said, Prabhupada said, for the sake of preaching, one can accept many disciples. Srila Prabhupada himself had more than 10,000 disciples. And Prabhupada told his sannyas devotee, Jayapataka Maharaj. Prabhupada told him that you should have over 60,000 disciples. And today Jayapataka Maharaj has already crossed that limit of 60,000 disciples. Jayapataka Maharaj. So for the sake of preaching, one can do that. All that is said in this injunction is that one must desist from making numerous disciples if one is not sufficiently qualified, and also if the disciples are not qualified to be eligible for initiation. So one should not be eager to accept disciples if one is not qualified, because the Guru actually takes the karma of the disciples. And if the Guru is not very qualified to burn the karma, because this karma is very heavy karma, because it's like from unlimited lifetimes. So the Guru, I mean, it's a selfless service. He frees the disciple completely from all the previous karma or not the baggage. He frees him or her, and he takes onto him. But if he is not pure enough to burn it out, then it will impact him. And it is naturally seen that when any spiritual master gives initiation, they become sick. At least they become sick for sure. So one should see, and also if the guru, if accept a disciple, and um, if the disciple is not very sincere, if they perform sinful activities, guru also get the reaction. One devotee asked Prabhupada, why are you suffering? You are a pure devotee, and Prabhupada said, because my disciples are breaking the 4 regulative principles. One time Jayapataka Maharaj was sick, and the mail went to all the disciples of Jayapataka Maharaj that we request all the devotees to please practice the 4 regulative principles very sincerely. So Guru gets the reaction. I mean, Guru takes a huge responsibility on himself, but then Guru should make sure that the disciple is qualified. So Guru should be qualified, and the disciple who should be qualified to become initiated. If money is utilized by the unqualified spiritual master for living comfortably in costly temples without actually doing any preaching work, that is not acceptable. A spiritual master need not be very enthusiastic for constructing temples simply in the name of so-called spiritual advancement, but rather his first and foremost activity should be to preach. So it is said that spiritual master should not be very eager to construct many temples as a matter of, see, this is how many temples I have. Rather, the foremost activity of a spiritual master should be to share the message, to preach the glories of the Holy Name. If one very carefully reads Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and this nectar of devotion, that will give him sufficient knowledge to understand the science of Krishna consciousness. One need not take trouble of reading other books. So Prabhupada says on reading many books, Prabhupada said there is no need. If you read teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and what we are reading, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then one will get the sufficient knowledge on what is conducive, what is not conducive. These 64 items, some like about spiritual master may not be directly relevant to us, but maybe it may be relevant to all of us, maybe some of you at some point of time in future. For the sake of completeness, we will still go through all of them. Okay, so no need to read many books, no need to take the trouble of reading many books, but one should read every day. One should read the important books every day, like Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction that we read in the past. These books one should read on a regular basis and systematically. Then straightforward in ordinary dealings. Sometimes a devotee must deal with practical matters of dollars and cents, ordinary dealings that tend to bring out one's cheating propensities. Therefore, one must practice honesty in all one's dealings, always remaining Krishna conscious, pleasant and straightforward. So one should be straightforward. Dealing with wealth, sometimes greed may come and one may overtaken by greed, overtaken by material desires, one may cheat, especially when it comes to money matters. Cheating propensities may come out, or one's own profit may come out. But one must be straightforward and honest in all dealings. Okay. Again, this from Padma Purana. And then equilibrium in gain or loss. Okay, this is the last one we will read today. Equilibrium in gain or loss. The second reference from Padma Puran, page 67, is evidence for this item. It enjoins that anyone who wants to think of Krishna must not allow strong material emotions to overwhelm his or her heart. So let us see. Yeah, the demigods. Yeah, this is the last one we read. There will be gains, there will be losses, there will be circumstances, but one should not be overwhelmed by strong material emotions. But one should see whatever happens in one's life as see the hand of Krishna. Sometimes what happens when we are not able to see the hand of Krishna in our lives, then we blame somebody or we blame ourselves. This happened because of this person, this happened because why. So, the emotions may come when we are unable to see the hand of Lord Krishna in the situations. Yeah. Okay. So that's all I have for today. And if there's any discussion, we can take at this point of time. We discussed around 10 items today. Any discussion, any questions?
Prabhuji, one question. Prabhuji. Like in the point when you said
Matli, speak
giving
little louder.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Is it better audible now?
Yeah, I
Prabhuji?
am. You are audible now.
Yeah. In the point, giving up the company of non-devotees, like there was a mention of list of in Srimad Bhagavatam who are devotees of demigods, but we should not consider them as devotees, right? Prabhuji, I could not catch that point completely. Could you please?
So, Mataji, we should associate only with devotees of the Lord, which is like, devotees of Lord Krishna, devotees of Lord Ramchandra, Lord Narayan. They are all devotees of the Lord. Any devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or any of his incarnation are Vaishnavas. We can associate with any one of them, but one should not associate with demigod worshippers like Kali worshipper, Saktas, or okay. Does it answer?
Yeah, got it, Prabhuji. Sorry, I could not catch it at the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other question?
Just a follow-up on this question. Like in case of Lord Shiva, devotee, should we consider them as a devotee of Lord Krishna? Because Lord Shiva is a devotee of Lord Krishna.
So is your question, well, can you repeat your question again, Mataji?
I'm just asking, like in Bhagavatam, so many places mention, the devotees of Lord Shiva. Not all of them, of course, some of them are not worshipper of Krishna, but some of them, they are worshipper of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is also a worshipper of Lord Krishna. I'm asking this, like in my hometown, my parents, they are worshipper of, Lord Shiva. Like my mom, she's she's worshipping Lord Shiva from the beginning, from the beginning. So in this condition, Prabhuji, should we take it as a Lord Shiva is also, the supreme worshipper or devotee of Lord Krishna. So how should we accept it? How should we, take it, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Mataji. Well, those who worship Lord Shiva very sincerely, Lord Shiva will guide them towards Lord Krishna. Naturally, one devotee, I shared this before, but one devotee told my spiritual master that I am a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and my Guru Maharaj told him that, and that's why you are here in Krishna temple today, because Lord Shiva guides one to Lord Krishna. Those who worship Lord Shiva out of material desires, there are multiple devotees of Lord Shiva. Those who selflessly devote to Lord Shiva, pray to Lord Shiva without any material desires, Lord Shiva will bring them to Lord Krishna. Many stories and there. Those who worship Lord Shiva out of material desire, one should not associate with them. Like, for example, there are, great demoniac personalities were also devotees of Lord Shiva. Ravana was there, and that's why Lord Ramchandra took permission of Lord Shiva before killing Ravana. And there are such personalities also worship Lord Shiva. And there are those who are devotees who worship Lord Shiva. Like we also worship Lord Shiva. In Vrindavan Dham, every corner there is a Kshetrapal who is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva came to participate in Lord Krishna's pastimes. He is best among all the Vaishnavas. So those devotees who treat Lord Shiva from the perspective of Vaishnava, great, associate with them. But those who associate like Ravana with material desires, don't associate. Does it answer?
Yes, Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. So, Prabhuji, I told you about my parents, so as you mentioned, we should not take their associations. Association is like we should not get influenced by them, but it's not like we can take associations, right?
Yeah, parents have natural affection for children. So tell them the truth, give them knowledge. Let's see, this is what Bhagavatam says, this is what Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And there is care, there is love. And then we tell them that yes, Lord Shiva, we also worship Lord Shiva, not out of material desire, but because he's the best among all the devotees. When we worship all the devotees, how can we disrespect Lord Shiva? He's a great personality. We can never, even in our dreams, can we disrespect Lord Shiva. Even all the demigods are great devotees of the Lord. So we cannot disrespect anyone. But at the same time, we don't want to associate with those who are worshipping out of material desires. And Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, most of the people who worship demigods are because of material desires. And those desires are fulfilled by me alone, and they do so in an improper way. So when it comes to parents or those close to us or with whom we have relationship, we try to give them the knowledge and bring them to the path of bhakti.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Shweta Mataji, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, yeah, while reading Srimad Bhagavatam, initially when started, like I used to read the shlokas followed by word-to-word translation and then translation and purport. But now that I have started skipping the shlokas and word-to-word, going directly to translation and purport. So is this okay? Because in this way, I feel I can progress a little bit faster than the earlier mode.
Yeah, okay. That is all right, Mataji. I know some devotees, they love reading shlokas and then word to word and then translation purport. And I know devotees who read translation purport, and that is all right. Whatever is convenient for you, whatever helps you understand and keep in flow.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
And
Prabhuji, I just had one follow-up question with the previous questions. So you said like followers of the Lord, but is it okay if they don't have like the same kind of understanding? They don't follow like the same rules that we follow. So is it okay for their association, or does it matter?
You mean those who are followers of different incarnations of Lord?
Yeah, Prabhuji, that we can say, but they don't have we follow 4 regulative principles. We read Srimad Bhagavatam. We read different we do systematic study and stuff like that. But now someone who is worshipping, say any incarnation, it doesn't matter, any incarnation of Lord, but they are not kind of, they don't have these all things in their, like they're not following those rules and everything. Yeah. So I was asking, like, does it matter, or still it's the same as associating with the devotees of or the worshippers of demigod? Because since they're not following these rules and they're not doing, like, their understanding and our understanding doesn't match, right?
Match, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my question.
Yeah, so Mataji, those who are demigod worshippers generally are people who are worshipping out of material desires. Give me job, give me spouse, give me children, give me, and they worship, do various sacrifices, they worship demigods. So that's one category. One category is those who are Vaishnavas, but followers of different, like Sri Sampradaya, worshipper of Narayan, or different some other Vaishnavas, they worship a particular like Ram worshippers. So can we associate with them, respect them as great devotees of the Lord? Do we really discuss philosophy with them? No. Rupa Goswami describes, we discuss with those who are Swajatiya and Snigdha. Swajatiya means same form of worship as we are. Like if we are Krishna worshippers, then we associate with those who are followers of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. We discuss philosophy with them. But if others who are, say, other incarnation worshipper, and if they say Lord is great, this just associate on general basis, and yeah, it's not too close to discuss and reveal our mind of our practices and other things, but just worship them as great devotees, and they will go back home, back to Godhead, and they're not worshiping out of material desires. They're pure devotees of the Lord, and respect them like that. Does it answer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I just had one more question. Not from
Mhm.
today's class. So, Prabhuji, in Bharat Maharaj's pastime, when he got attached to the deer and everything, the reason was one reason was because he didn't had any devotee association. So, that might be one reason. So I had just curiosity, was that his choice? Because if you don't have enough devotee association, and that can be one of the reason for fall down, right?
So what is the
Is that
question?
right? Yeah, so did he choose, he was in Bhava stage, but did he choose to be he was staying in a secluded place, he didn't had any association and everything. So that was his choice, or that was something to that was already ready for him, so for the fall down.
Oh, so was it his destiny to fall down?
Yeah,
Or
that's
was it his
just
choice?
curiosity probably. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was a choice, Mataji. It was not a destiny, because free will is there. Um, my spiritual master explains that when he became attached to the deer, he became so attached to the deer that he started neglecting his own practices. Previously, he was very sincere in his chanting of mantras, in his worship, in his sadhana, in his hearing and reading, in various practices he would follow. But then when he became attached to deer, he was thinking more about the deer. While chanting, he is thinking, where is deer? And while doing his fire sacrifice, if you see the picture shows, is he there? Is he there? So he started becoming distracted. So although he was very advanced, he could absorb in the Lord. He had got that adhikar that when he focused the Lord with concentration, bhav would appear. Like Srimad Bhagavatam says, those who try to chant the holy name of Krishna with concentration and the heart does not melt, then their heart must be considered steel framed. But then the word used is those who chant the holy name of the Lord with concentration. And Bhagavad Gita also, it is explained that Arjuna says that those who remember Krishna with concentration will derive pleasure, because so the concentration word is very much emphasized. So he had the adhikar of remembering the Lord, absorbing in the Lord, because how much we absorb in our, when we do our sadhana, how much absorption we have is based on our advancement. If we are not sufficiently advanced, even if we really try to absorb, the mind will be distracted. But if we are advanced, still we have to take the effort of really focusing with concentration, then the bhava will appear. But he is losing that aspect of concentrated devotional service. And those desires, which is kind of care for out, which was actually coming out of attachment and desire for the deer, that started becoming overwhelmingly prominent in his consciousness, and he could not focus on the Lord. And because of that, he started becoming weaker. And when he became weak because of his attachment, now we know that no matter if our chanting is not good or our sadhana is not good, we know material desires will increase. Even at the state of bhava, unless one attain prema, if one is not very focused in one's chanting, material desires will increase. And we have our own experiences. Not so good chanting days is like a disturbing day. The mind is more disturbed. Chanting is good. absorption is there, then we can handle any situation in a prayerful mood, in a good consciousness. So it's, the fall down does not happen like a moment. It may happen in a moment also though, but gradually he started becoming weak in his practices. And Paramatma is also there. Paramatma is also guiding actually all of us, even when this is not there, that your sadhana is not good these days. But then if you neglect the voice of Paramatma, and if you're like, it's okay, and still maintain our attachment, then it's just a misuse of free will. But the importance of devotee association, if we are in association of devotees who care for us, then it is said that when we become weak, the first person who comes to know is we ourselves. Then the second person who comes to know is Guru. Guru will know कि थोड़ा ढीले हो रहे हैं, he is becoming weak. And the third, the whole world will come to know this person is falling down. So if he was in association, they would have immediately seen, like when we are chanting in association, and if you're distracted or going here and there, or somebody sees us, say, suppose chanting just like here, or walking and washing clothes and driving, then devotees will say, Prabhu, what are you doing? Don't chant like this. Be very sincere in your chanting. Devotees will immediately rectify the moment we deviate. But he was getting more and more distracted, and there was nobody to rectify. And his absorption in the deer became more and more overwhelming, and that caused his next life. So it's more of a free will kind of thing. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else anyone has? Okay.
One of the 64 items that we talked about is residing in a sacred place. Now, sacred place, I mean, we also say at the same time that Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. So, I mean, if like it was mentioned, I don't remember the exact quote, but like if someone stays in Dwarka, then they receive that kind of benediction of, I mean, the benefits of Sarup Mukti and all that. So obviously, living in Dham, we also consider that we shouldn't go to a Dham if we don't have any service, or we should not stay in Dham for more than this much time. So how to kind of get a, what do you say, how to understand it basically?
So say that I heard everything. The last time you said how to?
How to understand this slowly with respect to like when we are so, I mean, we are in Kali Yuga, and obviously we are not, we have so many impurities, that's why we are here. But at the same time, we also talk about consciousness, and then when we hear this thing, right, that living in Dham is so important. So how to get a balance between all those?
Okay, thank you. So very, very nice question. How do we, okay, one can either physically reside in a sacred place like Vrindavan Dham, or one can reside there mentally. Residing there mentally is not possible for us because we have not attained that much mercy yet. I'm talking about myself. So then our current practices in current day and age, now see Prabhu, this is written by Rupa Goswami. Pure means the epitome of purity. He's physically residing there, and one can physically reside there, and one may not mentally be residing there. Just like one can be living in Radha Gopinath Vallabh Mandir physically, but mentally one may be engaged in some other activity, some other thoughts. So Rupa Goswami is in that state that he is fully absorbed mentally, Prabhuji. If you see, he has written books. That book shows how much absorption he has in Lord Krishna. And when we are remembering Lord Krishna, we are in Vrindavan because Krishna is within the hearts of his pure devotees. What happens in our situation is, Prabhu, we stay where we are. we practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, we hear about Krishna. We slowly, as we advance in Krishna consciousness, we just go to Vrindavan and come back. We visit there for a short time because we want exposure to the various places. When we come back, when we do our sadhana, some of them may attract us. We may hear about those places. And gradually, Vrindavan consciousness will seep in. When that happens, it will, I mean, to the extent the heart becomes pure, Lord Krishna is revealed, the Dham is revealed, Lord's activities are revealed, and a day would come when throughout the day we can remember Lord Krishna in every activity. What Krishna is doing, how he was doing, everything will relate to Lord Krishna. A day will come. Lord Krishna and the Dham, and we'll be fully absorbed in that. And that's when we can actually apply this principle of mentally residing in Dham. And Prabhuji, if you see Rupa Goswami, if you have you read Nectar of Instruction, Prabhu?
No, Prabhu.
No, okay. So Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami gives this instruction in the 8th verse that you reside in Dham, if not physically, then mentally. Before the 8th verse, first 7 verse is a preparation. And they are like, be enthusiastic, be patient, be determined, tolerate the urge of anger, urge of, the 6 urges. And I mean, we will see it some point of time in future when we discuss Nectar of Instruction, and then chant the holy name. Heart is purified, respect all the Vaishnavas. When one is following all these principles perfectly that are described in the first 7 verses, then one can come to the stage of mentally residing in Dham. And actually that is the right time to mentally reside, to even physically reside in Dham. This is not the time to physically reside in Dham, like some devotees wanted to go to Vrindavan and chant. And Prabhupada says, no, first go out and preach. First go out and do the service. Prabhupada would say, work now, samadhi later. Very famous quote Prabhupada would say. So physically residing in Dham at this point of time is not encouraged, because like it is just like Arjuna wanting to going away, acting against his own nature. And Krishna says, you cannot act against your nature. You cannot become a Brahmana. He wanted to take the life of a Brahmana by going there and leaving the battlefield. And Krishna says, no, by nature you will be forced to act according to your nature anyways. Better to work in consciousness of me. So that is our current state. Once we become purified to an extent that we can become fully absorbed in Krishna, we become more and more internal, more and more manasik seva, or mentally qualified to worship. The whole day we can be absorbed in Krishna consciousness without any engagement, just because we have developed that much adhikar. Then you can physically go in Dham also. Prabhupada says at the end, when you have attained some sort of perfection, then it's your choice to continue preaching or to stay in Dham. Prabhupada said that's your choice at this point of time. Like Prabhupada, till last minute he was preaching. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, last three years, he stayed in Bhakti Bhavan in Calcutta, and then he departed from there. But he just took samadhi at that time. So Prabhupada said you have either ways. That time, this would be applicable to reside in Dham physically or mentally. But at this point of time, for us, even a glimpse of a holy place, hearing about Vrindavan, this is appropriate sadhana for us now. Does it answer, Anand Giridhar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you.
much. Yes.
Thank you.
And I have one more question if you have time, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
So you're talking about association, taking association of people who are non-devotees, again for the purpose of preaching. Obviously, I mean, a preacher has to associate with a non-devotee, but as a I mean, even when we are not preaching and we are trying to follow the bhakti process, if we associate with them in a mood of giving association rather than taking association, is that a good way? I mean, obviously we should be guided.
Yeah, that is very much wanted, Prabhu. And the safe way to do it is like how my spiritual master explained. We go out, we give association, we encourage them, we speak very nicely. We sometimes speak about things like how is your job, Prabhuji, Mataji, how is things, how are things? And then we bring some form of Krishna consciousness. And that's our war zone. And then we come back to our home zone, shelter zone, where again with devotees, chanting like in Sunday feast, hearing or speaking Krishna Katha or hearing Krishna Katha, celebrating the festival. That's our home zone, shelter zone, safe zone. And then we gain strength from that association. And with that strength, we go out, we share. And that's like a war field. And then we come back to our home shelter. Does that help? Does it answer?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhamma Pranam.
Um,
Yeah, to the same.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, to the same point, Prabhuji. Like if we have come across people who are talking all like Mayavadi philosophy, that we know that I mean through little knowledge, what let's say, for my example, but with my experience, when I came across, though they are speaking, though we know that they are talking wrong thing, but sometimes we may have to keep quiet. Is that okay, Prabhuji? Like though we know that it is wrong, when we know that we cannot convince them, so is that okay to keep quiet? How to deal with that type of situations, Prabhuji?
Yeah, understood. Yeah, Mataji, I think in the circumstances that you may be describing, I think it's okay to keep quiet. If you see, like, here is an example. Arjuna was very much trying to convince Krishna what he should be doing. And he wants Krishna to support him, that fighting should not be there, this is wrong, woman will become widowed, sinful reaction will come, these all things will come. So Krishna, we should not fight. And Arjuna was like, yeah. He did not say anything. I mean, he knows everything Arjuna was speaking was not appropriate and was not according to dharma. And it was a misunderstanding of the principles he has read. And Krishna has that full clarity, but he did not say anything in the first wrong point he said, and the second wrong point, and the third wrong point. And Arjuna gradually came to the point of, Krishna, I am a fool. I surrender to you. Please guide my direction. And then Krishna said, okay, whatever you said is there are some mistakes there, and there's a correct understanding. And because he was already surrendered, Arjuna was in a receiving mood. So we don't want to go in an argumentative mood. If somebody is not in a mood to listen, it's better to avoid. It's better to practice our own Krishna consciousness. But if they are they have appreciation for us, and they are eager, and they are in a willing of conversation, in a willing to learn, then you should speak.
My experience was like, as I said, they were very strong from their side, so I just said, okay, whatever you said is correct. There is nothing much we can. I was
that is intelligence. Very good. Yeah, don't do that. Like it is said that we should not associate at all with Mayavadis. It is described in Nectar of Instruction. We read Asat Sangha, and Asat Sangha Bhaktivinoda Thakur says associate Mayavadis. But one devotee asked my spiritual master that my spiritual master was associating and trying to preach to even to those who are Mayavadis. And then my spiritual master says like Prabhupada would associate with Mayavadis and he would convert them. He would give them bhakti. And then my Guru Maharaj would do that and he would give them bhakti. But in our stage, like I'm talking about myself, if we are not that strong and that much conviction, like Uttam Adhikari, then it's better to be safe. In other words, even in like another example I remember is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave more mercy in South India too than he gave in Bengal. And Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes that one has to see where people are more favorable. He found people in South India more favorable, he gave them more mercy. Not so favorable in Bengal, he did not do it. So we also should look for ripe souls and invest our energy there, rather than convincing those who are set in their ways and who are not willing to change. Another example Prabhupada would say is focus on the youth. He said, old people, they are set in their philosophy and very difficult to change them. Don't waste your time. Prabhupada would also say, don't waste your time in those who say, you are going to hell, this and this way or that way. No need to kind of waste our time and energy because our time is Guru's time. So invest there where people are more favorable. So same principle applies to those who are Mayavadis also. No need to argue. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Shilata Mataji. Okay, anything else? Okay, I think we'll end here. Thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Dandavad pranams. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Krishna
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna,
Dandavat
Prabhuji.
Pranam.
Dandavat
Hare Krishna, Sridhar Mataji, Radha Bhavani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
pranam.
Sanjay.
Hare
Bhavani.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Srilata Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I don't remember your name again.
It's okay, Prabhuji, no problem. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.